Hello, my name is Patrick Moore,
I'm Marlisa McLaughlin.
and welcome to Health Buzz.
Perspectives on natural health and healing.
We have a very delicate and profound show that we're going to be bringing to you today, and the title of our show is Terminal Illness, One Man's Journey. And we're fortunate that one man who's very dear to us is going to share his story about how one confronts the challenges of being given a terminal diagnosis in life. We're going to share his reactions to it, his joys, his reflections on life itself, his spirituality, his humanity. And I think all of you out there at one time or another have been confronted with someone close to you who's been given a terminal diagnosis. And one day in itself, any of us sitting in this chair may be confronted with the same challenge. So we're going to examine all those layers, and we're very fortunate to have my co-host, Marlisa, to introduce her father, who has been generous enough to share this story. And this will be a series of episodes, and an introduction to our first show today. And in our following up shows, we will be looking at the traditional therapies that are used to treat this illness and the complementary alternative medicine therapies. So we welcome you, we invite you. It's a delicate issue, but we're very fortunate that our guest has been willing to share this story, and we invite you onto this journey with us. Marlisa?
So I'd just like to welcome my father. I'm really honored and privileged and proud to have my dad along with us on the show. He's a man I deeply love and respect, and I have shared endless amounts of experiences that have brought me to this chair, actually, and everywhere else in the world I've been. My dad was dealt a pretty tough hand early on in life. I was 6, and my mother passed from acute myeloid leukemia, leaving my father with 2 young girls and a life ahead of him that was very different than what he had anticipated. So from there, he really moved forward and unfolded a beautiful life for himself and his family. He's been the cornerstone of our family for decades. I think we all feel very honored to have him with us, and this experience is a challenge just to sit here and talk about right now. Just wanted to let you know that one of the reasons I'm proud of my dad is just his list of accomplishments. There we were. He came to Iceland to visit me. That was his first mountain to climb, and now this is the second one we're climbing together. My father had a very difficult childhood. It was challenging. He had a fatherless childhood. It was after the Depression. There was a lot of poverty. He was working on the fields when other kids were playing, and he managed to get his high school diploma, and then he met my mom, and then that crisis hit. But he picked himself up and he moved forward, and I got to witness that and draw strength from that. From there, he got his college degree at 40 years old, and he went right on through to get his master's, graduating cum laude. We were very proud of him for that. And was successful in his career and supported his family all the way through. So just recently, about 11 weeks ago, my father was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia, which is a rare form of leukemia, and it was the same one that my mother passed from. We have been together through this, trying to deal with the challenges, and so I'd like to welcome my dad because he has agreed to come on, hoping that we can reach somebody out there who might gain some strength and faith. So welcome, Dad.
Thank you.
Well, Robert, thank you for being on our show. And
My privilege.
And to come here before our audience and to be able to share this journey. I think that quite often when someone is diagnosed with a big C, the cancer, leukemia, sometimes people don't know how to react. Some people go into a shell and hide. Some people don't know what to say. And so we'd like to explore that conversation and ask you, what does it mean to you to come out and share this with our audience and talk about this journey?
I feel that personally, whatever I can give forth in my journey through this illness, if anyone can benefit by what I have to say or do, the human pincushion or whatever, that's my objective. To help someone else through their issues, if I possibly can do that.
So I have a question for you, Dad. Even though I was on my side of this answer, it'd be interesting in retrospect, how did you feel when you initially were diagnosed with this disease that could end your life in months? We really got slapped in the face with that one. What were your feelings?
Well, initially, I went through into my shell,
Yeah, into your shell initially.
and I shed a few tears alone.
Were you in a state of shock type kind of disbelief?
No, I wouldn't call it shock. And I wouldn't say poor me. It was internalizing, ingesting, digesting, analyzing the repercussions that are going to come from the disease. Not so much for me, because this is God's will, not mine, but for my family. And I haven't said this to you, Marlisa.
Uh-oh.
You lost your mom from the dreadful disease. Now you're going to lose your dad. I don't know if you're sitting on the fence saying, is it going to happen to myself or my sister? I know that once you pass the age of 28, when you turned 28, you came to me and you said, it's finally over. And I said, what? And you said, I'm 28, Mom was 27, so I've made it. I can certainly be compassionate enough to understand how that must have felt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the good news is, when I was talking to your hematologist and I said, gosh, looks like we're right up there. How, you're filling your health charts in and they say, what's your family health history? And you have 2 rare forms of leukemia with the closest blood that you have in your body. And I said, shouldn't I go get myself a bone marrow test? And she said, it's not contagious, or it doesn't travel down the genes like that. And I said, well, then how did this happen, remember? And she just said, I don't know, this is just rare and uncommon, which is par for the course with everything else that's happened in my life anyway. So I just, okay, here's another one, but this is not a fun one.
Well, we'll be examining in our next episode, our next show, many of the potential risk factors involved, and exposures and environmental and things like that, and some of the issues that we can address of how you can treat this illness, not just from a standard of care, but from a naturopathic standpoint. But I think that's a very interesting observation, because your thoughts after the initial diagnosis were going outward as to how family would react, how friends might react. And what has some of those reactions been in general, if you could, friends versus family, and how you deal with those, or how you might suggest other people, deal with it? And
Well, the people, the receivers of the information of your illness, are comical in a lot of ways, and there's nothing I can do about it, and there's nothing anyone else can do about it except the chemotherapies and all the rest of the medical journeys you're going to go through. But people look at you and they go, you don't look ill. And I go, I don't feel ill. I'm a little tired, but I don't feel ill. I'm not sick.
Yeah.
I am sick, but I'm not sick,
Right.
physically. What could I tell them? You accept it, you embrace it. You're on your own little platform. If you don't have a bucket list, that's fine. I don't have a bucket list, but if I want to do something, I'm going to do it. I've been to Crazy Horse's Monument, and I intend to try to get back there to see the progress it's made. That was a journey worth taking. It was an amazing feat by one man, and it's still being worked on by his 10 children today. And he's been dead for 20 years.
Amazing. So that's something special to you that you
Yeah.
think about.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people out there might think that too. But is there any suggestion you might make? Because a lot of people, they see someone with a terminal diagnosis and they may say, I don't know what to tell that person. I don't know what to say to that person.
Like, cheer up, things are going to get better.
mean-
That doesn't
I mean,
work
what-
here for general.
So, back, if you go back 10, 20 years ago, you heard the C word, people would kind of hide, That's so, I don't know what to
Exactly.
say,
Yeah.
And any ideas or suggestions as to, what would help you the best, someone in your situation?
Well, those questions have been posed, of
Yeah.
course, and I openly state that I have an end date, and I don't think everyone's respond to that.
Because your prognosis was for how long, or the doctor said
12 months.
12 months?
But I don't think they responded to it with an open mind. When someone says I have an end date, they smile and say, "Well, that's nice." And it goes, "Well, it is. I mean, at least it's the destination."
Yeah.
But I don't think they get it.
Yeah.
Do you think that might have something to do with the fact that I feel that you've been just amazingly relaxed about this, and you've been very natural about dealing with the disease and how you're treating it, and so to come across you not looking ill, and then for you to say, I've got an end date, it might even come across as an unbelievable part of your humor, like that can't be true, so do you think that might have something to do with
No,
it?
that's a possibility. That's a strong possibility. You can't pout. Like I said, it's God's will. Do I like it? Absolutely not. I'd like to be here until
Forever.
forever.
Yeah.
Like we all would.
We all will, yeah.
But we're not going to be. And they said 12 months. I'm saying no. I'm going to be here when I'm 80, and I'll be sitting in this chair when I'm 80, going through the same story. So,
We did that wonderful story of my personal situation with 48 Hours to Live. Some of you, our audience, has watched that show, where my mom was diagnosed with 2 days to live in the medical intensive care unit at Yale New Haven Hospital. And through the implementation of holistic complementary protocols to complement the standard of care, she went from 48 hours to 12 years. So we're going to be talking about that potential in our secondary show, and where you don't have to accept a certain terminal date or a time frame and just, banish it. Banish it.
Don't give
even
into it.
dismiss it. Don't give into it.
I'll give in to
Because
it.
it can be a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? If you program your mind, 12 months, okay, let me write the date down. The train is arriving at Grand Central at
Exactly.
this hour,
Exactly.
and I have to get off.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I totally agree with it.
I just want to point out, it's interesting already how you process this, because I was in the room when my dad was diagnosed, and I heard, as some of us in the room also did, 3 to 6, and you've already made 11 weeks, so you're like doing so well, and it's almost the 3 months. So had he listened to that and gone spiraling down into it, you might not be sitting here being able to share like this and hopefully inspire people and move forward and enjoy your life. I mean, how many meals have we been eating together that have been magnificent? You just really reach into the fullness of life when things like
Lots
this.
of liver. Lots of liver.
Not enough liver. Lobster.
Get your liver and onions.
Liver and onions and
build
bacon.
Up, build up all
Yeah.
that vitamin B12 and good for your blood and things like that. And so,
Build up the immune system. That's what you have to do.
yeah.
And speaking of which, it was interesting that, Patrick, you never really actually met Dad before, and I didn't realize you hadn't met Patrick. You'd only seen him on Health Buzz. And when I asked Dad, what does he want to do? How do you want to handle this? You brought up Patrick. I'm willing to try some alternative complementary treatments and therapies with Patrick because he trusted you
Yeah.
so well. So we've brought that aspect in, which we'll talk about in the next series, but it was a really strong component, and I believe that's really helped you keep your immune system up and walk through the process to your decision as to whether or not you're going to have the chemotherapy, the chemical therapies.
So that's a real testimonial then to watch our Health Buzz show, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I want everybody out there, there's so much information to learn on our Health Buzz show and so many interesting stories and so many people who can benefit. So you were going to talk about the spiritual, right?
I was going to ask you, Dad,
Yeah.
if you could be openly verbal about your spiritual backing behind this, or do you have a spirit, which I know you're Catholic, raised Catholics, but it'd be nice to hear what you process.
Well, I was brought up and raised Baptist, and when I married your mom, I had to convert to Catholicism. So, and I'm still Catholic, not so much that I practice, not that I so much practice the religion, but God and I talk every day, several times a day, and He answers in strange ways, and I'm sure that anyone that has a strong belief as I have in God, that they get the same results and the same answers.
Yeah, I think that I've seen it time and time again. You know, we're holistic beings. We're not just a body with medicine. And looking at the mind, body, and the spiritual,
Exactly.
the power of prayer and the power of faith.
Absolutely.
So are there what would be an example when you're talking to God? Is there a prayer you say, or is it just a conversation?
It's a conversation, basically, and I have my ins and my outs, and we chat. He often doesn't answer. Spiritually, he's in your heart, and God is great. He's very forgiving, and I'm not so sure that out of the 10 Commandments, that he will not forgive. He will always forgive. And if one goes through life and with guilt processes of things that have happened in their life that they caused, they should look to God and ask for forgiveness. And that's a burden of relief that is insurmountable in so many ways.
Yeah, because you have had your challenges through life. You have
Absolutely.
some mountains that were incredibly adverse
Yes.
to deal with and overcome, and losing your wife, you know, at a youthful age and having to take care of 2 children. My goodness. That challenge alone could make a man bitter for life and say, why me, right? Why me, God?
I've never said that. I think one of the most joyous times in my life was climbing Mount Asia with my daughter Marlisa, my first mountain and my last.
Well, you've got a mountain right now, so you're going to climb this mountain too.
We will do that, and we will do that with a smile. If there's anything I can do to further someone else's mindset in a positive manner, I will do that. There's nothing to do with being courageous or being, I don't know what the word is. You just
Or being
stick
called
to
a
it.
hero or anything like that, or it's your positive, your attitude, right? How you approach it.
Exactly. You gotta have a positive attitude, accept it, embrace it, and go with it, and God will get you through it as well as your family.
Yeah.
We
that's
don't
beautiful.
need tears, we need laughter.
Yeah.
And when I go, at my wake, I want them to play Dust in the Wind and what was that song with Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid there?
Raindrops
Raindrops
keep
keep falling,
on.
absolutely.
Let's hear you singing a little here.
Yeah?
Yeah, give me a little tune.
Raindrops keep falling from the sky.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Works for you.
Good, well done.
I really feel that way deep in my heart, that people have to embrace their spiritual needs, share them with others, and hopefully give courage to them. Even if they're not ill, everyone needs courage in one form or another, because there's always a breakdown somewhere in one's life. And you need strength to get through that. So whatever you can give, you give. And that's the other thing I've learned in life. As simple as it may sound, it is better to give than to receive. It is so rewarding to give than to receive. So much from your heart. And to see the results of those givings in the eyes of someone receiving, it's unbelievably refreshing.
Yeah, and I just, since I've been through taking care of two parents where I held their hand to their last breath, both with terminal diagnoses, and stayed with them for years, one thing that I really applaud you with is that when people get challenged or enfeebled by an illness, sometimes, and they get older, they can lose their confidence completely. What can I offer? What can I give anymore? When I was younger, I could always give those great lessons to my children and in business and professions. And one thing I learned from my parents is the way they handled their illness with such courage in class. Courage in class. That was the greatest education they could ever offer to me, just by the way they demonstrated and conducted themselves in life. And that's I hold that so strongly, and I can see that in you.
Thank
The
you.
attitude, the faith, the spirituality, and the fact that the words of forgiveness, letting go, right?
Yes,
Letting go, because
absolutely.
you can say, why me? Or you can also say, with regrets, why didn't I do this in life or do that? But the sense of, and that comes from faith, doesn't that? Is that the power of
Absolutely.
faith?
Absolutely.
Another thing, Marlisa, I think on our next show we might change it. Instead of going through naturopathic protocols, we're going to have his musical singing debut.
We'll have you sing so people can remember what they
Because
should
you
take.
said laughter is important, and you're going to get a lot of
Absolutely.
laughs with you singing, right?
We will do that.
So let's just for a moment talk about, and that's beautiful, what you're saying, and I think that our audience can really, relate to that on Health Buzz and how you handle that with a smile on your face, a little laughter. Question, how has the medical profession, your experience with the medical profession, the doctors, the diagnosis, and everything that they've shared with you, what's your experience with that?
Well, I pondered that a little, and I feel, that's my personal opinion, I feel that the medical profession, the doctors, not the nurses, the doctors. The nurses are beyond belief when it comes to caring for you. But the doctors, I believe, have to take a step back. They're treating a patient. And when you're treating a patient that's ill, if the illness is known, that's one thing. If the illness is not known, that's another. So when you look at a doctor, you're looking at an auto mechanic. You come in with a symptom, and they diagnose the symptom. And then they take it from there. My doctors that I've seen throughout this episode so far have been above and beyond professional, very to the point as to what they feel. And that's what they do feel is from a medical standpoint, not from having an illness. And they say, well, there's this statistic, there's that statistic, and a statistic is good, but you have to know, man, you have to know what the amount of clients in the grouping of the statistics. So I can say I don't have much time left. They say, why is that? Because, well, I'm at the up 79% bracket of this group, and they only took 4%, 4 people in the percentage. So.
And it's hard, and
So-
you don't know that sometimes if you don't have that background, just like reviews on Amazon. This product is great, and there's one person who bought it.
Exactly.
So you
Exactly.
you have to really be thorough.
So the nurses, and many people know I teach nurses at Yale New Haven Hospital, are phenomenal. They're the caretakers.
Yes, they are.
They're the loving, tender, loving, medical
For
professionals.
the most part.
For the most part. I mean, we all know, but for the most part. But you would like to see the doctors look at a little more personal. It's not just a clinical statistic. You're just not a number. You're just not another patient, but a little more personal to it.
Yes,
the individual.
I think that's a good statement.
Yeah, individual. Yeah.
I think that's a good statement. And they probably, have an issue doing that because they find it difficult to embrace all of their patients with all of their illnesses.
Yeah.
Now, my doctor, Dr. Vanessa, is a sweetheart. She's certainly the best doctor I could possibly have. And she replaced a Dr. Nisley, whom my daughter's mom had. And it's been 57 years
Wow.
since my wife and myself. And my wife got 21 months, and I got 12. Age, I guess. But the treatments are the same
Yeah.
in 57 years.
Well, let's hope that through as we continue these episodes on your journey, our next episode will be going into some of the natural protocols, and we'll continue. For all of you Health Buzz listeners and audience, this is going to be a journey. We will have a series of episodes with Bob, and continue to share the humanity and all the questions you have and all the reactions. And I think you're going to love it because this is a great man. But the next show, we will continue on this same idea, but we'll be looking into the naturopathic and what can you do, where you don't just accept, but you can actually broaden yourself spiritually, humanely, and at the same time from a naturopathic protocol. And Marlisa?
Well, we just want to say thanks so much, Dad, for sharing. And for all of those of you at home, please, we welcome you to follow us through this journey on our Health Buzz show as we continue, and really hope for your sakes out there that you don't lose hope. Keep it light in your heart, and may you be well. If you'd like to know more about my dad's background in life, he did just recently do a podcast, and we have some information that's coming up on the screen, so you can listen to my dad's interview at greeninkradio.com.
Thank you for sharing this with us. And Bob, Robert, thank you very much.
Thank you for having
Okay.
me.
And we wish you a good evening, and we'll see you at the next episode with Robert. Okay?